Welcome back to We Are Here Live podcast presented by Common Square House Center. This featured performer this month needs no introduction. If you have witnessed Porsha O in action, you already know what you're in for. I'm gonna read Porsha O's bio for y'all so y'all know where to catch this performance. We're super honored to have Porsha O featured at Catch These Vibes, curated by no other Miss Sublime Love and the Other Boston. And if y'all know, you know, shout out Genevieve at the Other Boston at the Fort Hill Bar and Grill. You can catch this mic every other Tuesday from 6 to 9 at Fort Hill Bar and Grill right on Malcolm X Boulevard in Roxbury. So with that being said, I'm gonna intro Porsha O's bio for y'all, but I'm super excited. You gotta be there. You coming?
Oh, girl, I'm already there.
All right. Okay, cool.
With the bio, I was like, clack, clack, clack.
We in sync over here because this is not something you want to miss. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Porsha O is a Jamaica Plain resident and is the artistic director at Mass Leap, a literary nonprofit organization in Massachusetts serving youth artists. She has also co-founded the House Slam, a poetry slam venue at the Haley House Bakery Cafe in Roxbury that offers a free poetry slam and open mic events twice a month. Porsha is the 2014 Individual World Poetry Slam Champion and 2015 National Poetry Slam Champion. Okay, that's
Girl,
2
I
years
feel like
back
y'all
to back.
wrestling over here.
Back to back. In 2018, she was named by GK 100 as one of Boston's most influential people of color. Okay.
Word.
She is also an MFA candidate at Emerson College and has a full-length collection of poetry forthcoming in 2019 with Button Poetry, which already happened. So if you know, you know. Rooted in Afrofuturism, magical realism, and sci-fi, Porsha's work is a spell in response to the world around us that carves out the future, reimagines the past, and outlives the present on her own terms. Oftentimes, those intersectionally marginalized are not given a voice nor resources to dictate their circumstances. Porsha's writing uses a dangerous imagination that allows folks of the queer, woman, and Black diaspora to dream up their best selves, outlive their oppressors, and dedicate their joy and dictate their joy. As an educator and organizer, Porsha seeks to cultivate spaces for emerging artists that allow them to deepen their understanding of craft and community. She has served youth artists in the city of Boston for the last 6 years and continues to grow spaces for artists in the audience of the art. In applying to the Boston Poet Laureate position, Porsha seeks to revolutionize how the city of Boston interacts with poetry. Porsha O is the Boston Poet Laureate, just so y'all know. She is interested in meeting with and exploring organizations and artists in the local area, as well as representing them in the national sphere. Her commitment lies in youth artists, emergent artists, and building community spaces that grow. So without further ado, we're gonna have Porsha O give us our featured presentation this month on our podcast, and we're so honored to welcome Porsha O.
This poem is an Afrofuturistic reimagination of that particular well. And it begins with an epigraph from Amy N. Dalton and Lee Hung that reads, "Motivated forgetting is a psychological defense mechanism whereby people cope with threatening and unwanted memories by suppressing them from consciousness." It's called "We Drink at the Attenation Well." In Badagry, there is a hungry well of water and memory loss. In Badagry, there is a well of people lost across a haven of water. In Badagry, there was a port overwhelmed and unreturned. To omit within the mind is to ebb heavenward. Memory is a wealth, choking the brain in unresponsibility, violence in the mind, and the mind forgets in order to remember the self before the violence begat. In Badagry, trauma washes ungodly memory heavenward. In Badagry, there is an alternation well meant to wish away a passage, meant to unhaven a people, violence is overwhelming, is underwhelming. In return, what the body eats, the mind waters. Responsible is the memory for unremittal. Royal is the body for return. God is the mind for wafting. Forgetting is a port homeward. In Badagry, hungry memory grows angry. In Badagry, the memories unchoke, unhunger, trauma uneats the royal. In Badagry, there is a heaven of people responsible for the wealth of unremembering, for the well of us across a haven of water, overwhelmed and unreturned.
And welcome back to We Are Here Live podcast presented by Common Square Health Center. Again, I'm your host, Amanda Shea, and this is
Lady German.
You know, that's right. And we left y'all off at trending topics, but this one I want to kind of get a little more serious with because I feel like it's imperative for us to talk about it. And for me, it was the Texas abortion ban that just transpired this week. When I got the news of that, I was just extremely disappointed in how backwards our society can go sometimes. And for me also, I feel like there's so many reasons why women get abortions.
Well, let's start off with this. First of all, Texas, it's its own motherfucking country.
As we know.
Okay? Because Texas still has a lot of things happening over there, even with having conversion camp therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, this is, to me, I think in my eyes, it's not a surprise, but it's interesting to see how the nation has been woken up about this. Mm-hmm. So I want to really dive into it and talk about it. Like, what are your thoughts on this?
I think the first thing that I initially thought was, one, sometimes you don't know when you're pregnant. So to do a 6-week stop is just, first of all, if we're being candid, it's to have men dictate what women do with their bodies is so past thinking. Like, we've had to deal and break down so many barriers throughout the years to just get women to have rights. And for them to take this away is just like a step backward in time. It's not progressive movement for me. I also think about women who are unfortunately raped and have to carry a child of their rapist due to this law. I also think about women who don't know that they are pregnant and don't want to have a child and don't feel ready, teenage pregnancy. There's so many reasons why a woman would have an abortion. And for me, I just feel like we shouldn't have control over that. Again, 6 weeks is really, really early in the pregnancy. Regardless of what your views are, again, we speak to people just being authentic within themselves and having their own autonomy over their bodies, and this is definitely not it. By governing women and saying, no, you can't do this, and then on top of it, you can sue or get arrested for those who know about it, is just, it's just not arbitrary.
You know, I think that it's definitely, I come from a point of view where I feel like I don't know where I stand, because there's a moment for me where I stand for anybody who is willing to do whatever they want with their body. It's their body. It's their body. But I also think about some people who would think about, well, let's think about the children too. But it's just also too, what kid? Because it's just as a,
but who gonna raise that baby?
Yeah.
Can we just talk about it? Because
babies
I
having
have
babies,
2 children myself,
yeah.
and I'm just who's gonna raise the child? Are you gonna raise my child? No. Are you gonna financially support my child? No. Are you?
Because there's a Hispanic quote that always says this, and my grandma used to tell me that all the time. You can have you can have 10, 1, 5, 15 fathers, but mothers, you're only gonna have one.
There's that. But also it's I just don't believe in people having authority
Over
over
somebody's-
other people's bodies. I'm just not for that whatsoever. I know there's a lot of pro-lifers out there, and with all due respect, I understand where you're coming from. At the same time, it is not your choice because it's not your body, it's not your livelihood, it's not your life. You don't have to worry about this child being raised. The person who is impregnated by this child has to worry about that. And I don't think that at any point in time is it ever okay for anybody to govern other people's bodies, period.
And you know what's the key word that you're saying right now? It's govern. Because when we have a government, it's supposed to be for the people. And most people are against what they're wanting to do. And is it really that the people are having their voice being heard, or is it whoever is a part of the government or the control system, they're saying, well, no, we just don't want to do it that way?
I think it's a multitude of things. I also believe that people are trying to not only control women's bodies, but it's almost like possession in a way. That's what it feels like. It's like, I want to possess how you determine how you live your life, regardless of the unfortunate incident that you may have had to occur. Or I shouldn't even say incident, because rape, I don't feel like is an incident. I feel like it's very intentional.
Traumatic
and it's very traumatic, and we shouldn't gloss over that. But also, what about, again, teenage pregnancy? You know, I'm going to be super candid because I'm a super open book, but I've had an abortion. I've had multiple abortions. And my first abortion that I had, my mother enforced it on me. I was only 15. And she thought breaking generational curses was to give me an abortion because she was a young mother. My grandmother was a young mother. Great-grandmother was a young mother. And at that point in time, I didn't have a choice because I'm a minor and I can't just tell the judge, like, hey, I want to get emancipated from my mother. So I went through with it, and I'm telling you, like, it is not a pleasant experience. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about these children. At the same time, I look at where I'm at right now in my life, and with the 2 children that I decided to bring into this world, I see how hard it is, and I couldn't even fathom being a mother at 15. I just couldn't. So as much as I had resentment and bitterness towards my mother for that, because that's a very traumatic experience, and I was very far along. I won't say that exactly how far along I am because I don't want to trigger anyone. But my situation was a lot different than at 6 weeks.
You know what's so crazy? Hearing your story, and thank you for sharing your story.
Of course.
My sister, like, in my family, abortion has like a lot to play with. Like, so I was born out of rape, and growing up, my aunt and my grandmother told me about the stories of how my mom was forced to go to this hospital and try to get an abortion for herself, carrying me. And for some reason, her aunt or something grabbed her and took her, and then, you know, she basically had me like in some mountains in Honduras and whatever, like third world country. But then coming to this country, like with my sister, like the way you were saying your story about it, when my sister got pregnant at 14, like it was the same thing with her. My mom didn't realize that she was doing what once upon a time was done to her, you know? And it was crazy because when my sister got pregnant, she was 14. When my mom got pregnant with my sister, she was 13. So my thing was that, like, it repeats again and again and again. And then even like the little like resources that even women who don't have documents in this country, like they go through like old-fashioned ways of having an abortion.
Which is also very life-threatening because of the ways.
But you know, but the fact that a woman can make the choice of what they want to do, and if our country is offering the right access and the right ways to do it, I think that they should be able to access it. It's their body.
That's exactly how I feel, and you're right. It can become generational. That's why my mom wanted to stop that. However, when my mom was pregnant with me, because I'm Black, they wanted to abort me immediately because I come from a very Portuguese family, and there's just some cultural differences that we had to deal with, to say the very least. And my mom ended up running away, and when they got her, my grandmother ended up sending her to a home for pregnant women. So it's interesting,
That's
the
the
flip
same
side.
thing
It's
that-
like you went to a home for pregnant women, but you fought for me. Meanwhile, I'm 15, and you won't even allow me to fight for me.
But it also again, it's like you said, it's kind of like, and it's always going to be a man's world in a way. Hopefully, like
I don't subscribe to that.
well, no, I'm saying hopefully in our generation we get to see it more change,
I
because
feel like we're doing a really good job of that in this day and time. And we've named some trending topics that have been definitely pushing, forward the messaging of being like your authentic self and being able to live the ways in which you want to
and
live.
but the thing when I say about that is because the people controlling this particular situation are usually like these like men who want to like.
Are they, or is it us that have the voting power that puts these people into the office?
But how will we get people then to vote?
I mean, isn't this a good reason?
You're right. But we see a lot of people too. Like even last year, during the elections, like everybody got everybody to vote, right? So like, how do you think that we can influence people to like not have this pass and fight this?
I think from where I'm sitting, from the city of Boston, I think that the progression of the city is moving forward. If you look even at just our mayoral, our candidacy, or our mayor candidates, they're all people of color. And what's really beautiful is that they're also women. So I feel like that's even a shift in the paradigm, because when's the last time you've seen that in Boston? So we are making progress. I just think certain states are still very...
in the West, Midwest, girl.
Especially somewhere like Texas. At the same time, though, this is a great example of showing the power that we have. You said earlier about government, and it's for the people, by the people.
Amen.
If Ashe, we have a huge, voting process that's happening really, really soon with the mayors of Boston, and I feel like this is a good time for people to really pay attention. That, what did Martin Luther King Jr. say? There's a really beautiful quote where I'm going to paraphrase because I can't remember exactly how it is. Oh, an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. And that resonates in today's society, because it's like, if we are seeing what's happening in other states, why do we feel as though that it couldn't happen to our state that we live in?
It's like a virus. It's like, if we're seeing it somewhere, control it before it spreads, babe.
What do I always say? A community is only as healthy as its inhabitants.
Girl, what are we doing? Preaching? Did this become a Sunday?
I'm just saying, amen, ashe.
Okay. Sponsored by Common Square.
Exactly. And with that being said, we are actually going to take another commercial break, and we will be back very soon with the rest of our We Are Here live podcast presented by Common Square Health Center.
Okay, so where you going?
I'm here.
Okay, I'm gonna stay over there.
Okay.
Be right back.